I don't even fully identify what the Democratic Party is anymore. It's not recognizable to me.
I'm kind of rethinking my thinking, and I do think that maybe it's time for the Democrats to do a little bit of this post-mortem. I intend myself, what little I can do, to try to do that more.
I never thought that day would arrive. The View has recognized their loss for the first time in their history. I mean, let's break this down. Whoopi Goldberg thinks that it is unjust and divisive to judge your neighbors based on their political beliefs. Sunny Hostin admits that in order to identify their errors, she and the Democrats need to take a good look at themselves. The panelists all agree that the Biden administration's lack of openness over the drone problem is just strange. Isn't that crazy? Let's start with Sunny Hostin's shocking realization, however, as I know this is what everyone has been anticipating.
But then I'm kind of rethinking my thinking, and I do think that maybe it's time for the Democrats to do a little bit of this post-mortem, because the Democratic Party has always been the party of the working class. It's always been. If you look at all the policies, they're for the people. And I think even myself, as someone who grew up in abject poverty from the Bronx, my parents lived paycheck to paycheck. They had to decide whether or not they were going to feed me or whether or not we were going to have heat. And I remember that. And I think I missed the boat in terms of realizing that there are so many Americans that still have that experience that I grew up with and that members of my family grew up with. And so it is up to those of us who remember how that feels or who cares about that to reach out and say, come back, we can help you. And I intend myself, what little I can do, to try to do that more.
Would everyone please take a minute to express gratitude for this? I pushed the like button because I never thought I would live to see Sunny Hostin's moment of self-reflection in this way. Remember the video I posted a few days ago when a Democrat senator went on The View and completely shattered their whole worldview in one episode? His message seems to have been received. Now Sunny is saying the quiet part out loud, but don't worry, things will get even more interesting. Let's observe.
Well, he quotes, I forgot the exact quote, but he said something about how it's become the party of college professors and, it's this removed group of highly educated. And I think the conversations around that, because the people on the other side were voting for Donald Trump, oftentimes those voters were kind of put in a bucket of not being smart and spoken down to. So I think it's a strange thing because I don't even fully identify what the Democratic Party is anymore. It's not recognizable to me.
I do think it was trade deals feeling like America's being taken advantage of, and it affects the jobs that are largely working class and more industrial based, agriculture driven. And it was the border. It's not because they're like, oh, I'm nervous that somebody's going to come take my job. It's they know that big corporations take advantage of cheap labor, and those people are going to get employed while they're struggling to make ends meet. And I just want to say one thing, because Fetterman said something so interesting on the show we never discussed. I've used the term, Donald Trump's a convicted felon. I can't support that. But I think a lot of this country feels like we put people in a box if they're a convicted felon, even if they served their time, they paid their debt to society. And we think that they shouldn't be able to get ahead. And I actually think that backfired for Democrats. I think they don't like the name call.
Alyssa Farah Griffin interrupts Sarah Haynes, who says she no longer even recognizes the Democratic Party, to tell the panel that nobody is interested in Trump's criminal history. You can understand why Trump's criminal record is irrelevant, because, as we all know, such accusations were untrue from the start. If you look closely at the details of how those charges were constructed, it is clear that this was a political hit job. Fantastic. They seem to be bending the law to their will by bringing federal prosecutors into a state case and ignoring statutes of limitations. It's peculiar. To file accusations against Donald Trump, they went over and above and broke all the rules. Let's be truthful. Hunter Biden was 100,000% selectively penalized, just as he was given a pass because of his father's identity. Think about it. Hunter Biden would not have faced the same charges if he had not been Joe Biden's son. But the same is true with Trump. He wouldn't have been singled out if he hadn't been Trump. I'm glad Joe Biden came clean about the double standard because it's obvious. You cannot defend one while ignoring the other. It is blatantly hypocritical. Now, let's talk about the drones that are flying over New York and New Jersey. Everyone is attempting to understand what's going on and is in a panic. Why isn't the government being forthright and honest when it claims to have no idea where these drones are coming from or what they are doing? The View panel also agrees. This is odd. Look at it.
Now, they say that. They say, if we find out something, we'll let you know. But I don't know if they will.
I absolutely think the government knows what's going on. I don't hate that they're not telling us, because I actually think my theory is, and this is not educated or academic, is that they are testing technology for a time when we could need it. And I actually, because when you think about it, drones, these
That's
are
very doomsday, Sarah.
well, they can go up to like $1 million. These drones are not cheap.
Yeah.
So someone with a lot of
They're not
money.
the Christmas gift drones?
No. Those are not.
No.
But I think that they can do infrared. They can do a lot of things looking down, and I think they might be scanning and testing things. And I don't want them telling us, because then they tell the world.
So it is very likely that there is a plausible explanation, and my guess would be it's like a defense contractor that's authorized by the government to do it. But the answering and the explanations is driving me nuts. So you have Mayorkas saying, we're on it. Well, what are you on? Because you can't tell us what it is. Chuck Schumer saying you shouldn't have to shake an 8-ball for an answer. And then the joint FBI and DHS statement saying there's no evidence of a security risk at this time. That's doing a lot of work at this time. People are a little bit, it's a little eerie looking.
Really? It's strange. It's very strange. The United States has the largest, best funded, and most advanced military in history. We're told that they don't know what these drones are doing or where they're coming from. Either our military capabilities are very lacking, or the government is outright lying to us. Either way, we should all be quite concerned. This isn't normal. The most probable cause of the situation is a video that has gone viral on Twitter and was even cited by Joe Rogan. AER, missing nuclear bomb is either in the United States or on its way, according to credible sources. Isn't that frightening? A lot of people believe that these drones are searching for evidence of this lost weapon. If that's the case, we should all be worried. I retweeted it, so if you want to see it, follow me on X. But here's the real shocker. Whoopi Goldberg just made the most unexpected admission of regret. She's talking about a new piece of software that lets potential homebuyers find out their neighbors' political beliefs. And what do you know? Whoopi actually disagrees with it and refers to it as controversial. And she's right.
If you're house hunting, apparently there's new tech startup platform that tells you the political affiliations of your potential new neighbors. Plus, I guess some real estate professionals believe that this could influence buyers more than the conditions of the home. And I think that is not a good idea, because number one, it's none of your business. And number two, it just fosters more division.
Yes. And to pretend that our divisions are just political is the best part, because jerks come in every political affiliation.
Whoa, what a drastic departure from her tradition of not spending holidays with family members who have opposing political opinions. She's now implying that despite their opinions, your neighbors could still be good people. I don't know whether vodka was added to the coffee today, but this is wild. I had to inform you about what I was seeing and hearing because I couldn't believe it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm certain that they'll act in their usual ridiculous, illogical, and delusional manner tomorrow. But for today, I'll give credit where credit is due. The ladies of The View are shocking everyone, while MSNBC is doing the exact opposite.
Progressives should defend Biden's legacy to protect their future. And EJ writes in part this: the trickiest problem for Democrats and progressives in the coming months will not be finding a new electoral strategy. A far more pressing imperative is to prevent Donald Trump's victory from discrediting Biden's genuinely impressive accomplishments and the course he set for the country, which was broadly correct. The truth about the Biden economy should not be lost in the mire of political defeat and messaging failure. It's a reality that will make it much easier to defend his domestic policy legacy. Defending this legacy is vital to battling against a sharp rightward turn in economic policy. Nicole Hemmer, a history professor at Vanderbilt University, argues this defense is equally important to preventing resignation from the left. One close election, she says, should not be misinterpreted as a mandate for abandoning pro-worker and pro-union approaches or a strong industrial policy. How Biden's term is remembered is not just about him, it's about the future.
So this idea that, everybody's fighting everybody right now. and everybody's screaming, and everybody's looking at Joe Biden as a failure, when the fact is, you just said it, unemployment, long-term unemployment, lower than any time in 40 years. As you said, black unemployment, lower than it's been in a generation. The US dollar, stronger than it's been in 50 years over the Biden term.
Joe Scarborough claims that if Democrats want to win more elections in the future, they should put more effort into emphasizing Joe Biden's legacy and his achievements as president. Please allow me to explain. They want to use Kamala Harris's strategy. Biden has an excellent economy. Biden's policies are perfect. He could be history's greatest president. And they think that in the long term, this losing strategy, which was clearly ineffective, will somehow work. They worry that if they don't inflate Biden's purported success, more people will switch from the left to the right. But here's the issue. Reiterating the same faulty arguments from a few months ago will not win back voters or rebuild party confidence. It's not reasonable. Every piece of legislation that they portray as a Biden accomplishment is really just another spending bill that increased costs and made life too expensive for many Americans. Joe Scarborough had the gall to claim that the currency is stronger than it has been in half a century after Biden issued so much money that 40% of all dollars in circulation were created in the 2 years prior. Give me a break. It was, I believe, the most blatantly false statement I have ever heard. Joe Biden's career was already in shambles before he pardoned his son, and this just made it worse. It proved to everyone that he is the kind of guy who puts his own interests ahead of the nation's well-being, the rule of law, and the integrity of our institutions. After his disastrous administration, all that was left of him was his fake image as a kind old man. And that's gone now too. However, do provide your thoughts in the comments below about The View acknowledging their loss. It's still hard for me to believe. I'm sure you can't believe it either. They'll come back tomorrow with some ludicrous, ostentatious interpretation that will make me regret giving them any credit at all. I'm sure of it. That's just the way they roll. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.